I'm pleasantly surprised. I'd like to thank the MK Party for at least recognizing the Aboriginal people of the Western Cape. You would have noticed that no one else did. That's why I'm here. We are committed as the NCC to ending the genocide on the Cape Flats, the genocide engineered by the Democratic Alliance. As the NCC, we are committing to end the only ground where the ANC and the DA find themselves as friends, the marginalization of the colored child in the workplace. You walk into any place in Cape Town, show us the colors. We are not a non-entity, but I'm sitting here today representing people who are hopeless. We are committed to ending white supremacy in the Western Cape that is so flippant that a mere 8% of white people occupy 50% of all management positions in the Western Cape, while colored people with degrees sit at home or worse. As the NCC, we are committed to returning the land that was taken, listen to how I say it to you, taken from us, scars from which we will never recover. We are committed as the NCC to ending the DA in the Western Cape by any means necessary. I say to you today, Lance, South Africa, that this country will never yield until it treats the colored community fairly. Until we have that day, we can forget about talking about freedom. Remember, Nelson Mandela says, our freedom, it can never be complete until the Palestinian people are free. Yet South Africa finds itself with its own version of the Palestinian people. You know them as the coloreds. 2024, we bring you the colored spring. Mr. Premier, you need to empty our house. Thank you.
Much. So obviously, you know, our budget of 255 billion over the next year, over the next 3 years, the majority of that budget, 75%, actually gets spent in the areas that you're talking about. Because we do not build hospitals in Constantia. We build hospitals in Khayelitsha and Mitchell's Plain. We do not build schools in Constantia. We build them in Luandle. We build them, you know, that's where our money gets spent. That's how the Constitution aligns our role as the province.
I just have a quick rebuttal for the Premier of all things Zionist and illegitimate. 76% of the budget is spent where it's needed. Is the Premier aware of the fact that 90% of this province is poor? The Premier is admitting that 24% of the budget is spent on the rich. He's just said it. In addition to that, he's bragging about the hospital he's built in Mitchell's Plain. He closed the hospital in Manenberg, GF Twister. They've been promising Manenberg that hospital for 15 years. The poor people from Manenberg, when they get sick, have to travel to Mitchell's Plain. That's incompetence, that's criminality. Furthermore, yes, Mr. Premier, build a school in Luandle. No problem at all. Everybody's deserving of education. But when are you building schools in Mitchell's Plain and Lavender Hill? You know what you do when your department returns money? You close schools in colored areas. It's why the dropout rate is so high. It's why our children kill each other. But you're sitting here today explaining to us how lucky we are to live under DA rule. Here's something for you, Mr. Premier. The colored people in El Dorado Park are safer than the colored people in Manenberg. That's how well you govern.
Is the, you know, the EFF saying, I mean, he didn't come with any plan today. But the real measurement is, and of course, there are so many people that have got to, you know, find opportunity in our new democracy. There absolutely are. But the Gini coefficient is the best measurement of the gap between rich and poor. And just go and have a look at the Gini coefficient in this province. There's only one place in South Africa, and it's still way too high, but it comes down every single year. At a national level, it has not come down at all. It remains exactly stagnant. So the national number, there is no benefit, there is no narrowing of rich and poor, but in this province, it's because jobs actually enable you to find a difference in your household. And then I must, perhaps also just lastly on the EFF, you know, it's very interesting. The EFF needed to bring a plan here, but they actually do govern in this province. They govern in Knysna at the moment, and there's 0 services where they govern. And in actual fact, I think the honourable member here should go and have a look at what his member was doing last night, meeting with one of the biggest developers in town who owes the municipality 60 million rand in back rates and taxes. And in actual fact, at 9 o'clock last night, their member was meeting him. They're writing off that debt, and they're renting his property at the same time. So he says one thing here, but they do exactly the opposite. And then, of course, I want to say that...
No. Please let Mr. Windy finish.
Then, of course, I want to say that specifically we talk about land. And, I mean, yeah, quite frankly, we've got a lot of work to do to change those apartheid pieces of legislation and find spaces for people to live. But the 43,000 housing opportunities in the last 5 years in this province, go to Conradi and go and have a look at how we need to innovate and find different ways of densifying closer to the city. And then, of course, in the city itself, right now, we've got the Newmarket Street property development, the Salt River Market, the Pickwick, fruit and veg, right here in the middle of the CBD and Earl Street. And then there are two other places. There are two other places. And that, of course, is Helen Bowden and the Woodstock Hospital. Two prime pieces of property. And in actual fact, I think Razim Zanzi's premier candidate was quite involved in that stage of illegal occupation and promoting illegal occupation of these properties.
I'm going to have to stop you there.
On the issue of gender-based violence, you cannot give us 1 minute for an issue that affects all of us. Fadiel, for you and PMC, okay, we have an issue with violence against women nationwide. 124 rapes a day. 11 women are killed in this country per day. If you take this Western Cape over, what is your plan in terms of gender-based violence? The second question is Hanover Park, Premier Windy, Lavender Hill, Hillview, Delft is still part of this Western Cape. 48 murders over the weekend, 98 murders this weekend, and 87 attempted murders. What is your plan while you're still here? Fadiel and PMC, gender-based violence. I look at this panel, 14 panelists, 3 women. One of the panelists spoke briefly of gender-based violence. Gender-based violence is the next apartheid in this country. It is a human rights indictment. And look at who was killed and look at the services. There's fuck all services from the police. Zero. And let's speak about what happens with women in the rural area. It's even zero more zero. So when we start attacking women on the panelists because they're not eloquently to the male speech, then I want to say, cease on you. Thank you.
Thank you. Fadiel, for you to respond first on gender-based violence, and then we'll come to Sammy on gender-based violence. Fadiel? Go for it, Fadiel. Yep. It will start
Hello.
work. Yeah, here we go.
So on the issue of gender-based violence, let me just say that I was skipped over for the other question regarding women.